Okay, yes, it's a Lake Management Committee meeting by remote participation only, Zoom meeting. This is Thursday, September 9th, 2021, and this meeting is recorded.
With a vicious dog in the background.
Yeah, running around.
Can you guys see it?
We see
Yes,
it, Andy.
now we can see it.
Yep, we
Perfect.
can.
Okay. So first we have the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? They're in the reading file?
Yes.
Yes.
I have, Dick, I have a question on number 2.
Okay,
We didn't have the meeting last time because of no Zoom. I don't remember there being an issue with the number of, for a quorum.
no, there
Only the-
was. I have a list of those that were not available. We could not make a quorum.
The last meeting we did though.
Right,
Yeah, the
but
last
on the
meeting we did.
on the 26th, we could not.
Uh,
On 12th, I'm sorry.
we did.
That's when we had the storm. And several people had intermittent, what do you call it? Internet, no power. Annie had no communications whatsoever.
Yeah, Annie couldn't set up the Zoom. I remember that she had no power, but I didn't think it was a problem for everybody else. We had 5 people. If everybody else
and-
agrees that it wasn't that way, that's fine.
Yeah,
I just-
Eric couldn't. I have a list of everybody that couldn't.
I was available. This is Norm.
Yeah,
And I think Eric couldn't. I remember that.
yeah, we were
Yeah,
down to
'cause I
4.
had no internet.
Right,
Right.
we were down to 4.
Yeah, because I was there.
Yeah. Anyway. Anything else on that? We did, your absence was corrected there, Deb. You
Thank
had a
you.
question. Anything
you.
else?
Yes, Norm has an issue with number 10. We have to
Let's
strike
go to
the
number
first,
10.
we have to strike the whole first sentence as it happened after the meeting. We need to replace the
Okay.
first sentence with Mike D reported a lake level of 22.15. We can keep the last sentence.
Lake level. And repeat that again, lake level of,
225.15. Mike
Okay.
D reported. So we have to strike anything about Ida because that happened after our meeting. That should be included in the minutes for tonight's meeting.
okay. Are you marking that up on yours, Annie?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And now, wait a minute, let me do it at the same time. I just want to get to that page because I'm trying to juggle some papers here. All right, so if you do me a favor and just repeat which number,
Number 10,
number 10.
strike the
After that.
first sentence
Yeah,
and replace it with Mike D reported a lake level of 225.15. And then keep the last sentence,
okay,
which said several members commented about issues with large wakes from wake boats.
gotcha. All right. You okay? Anything else on there? Okay, hearing none, have a motion to accept the minutes as changed.
So moved. This is Norm.
Yes,
I'll
from Mike,
second it.
I'll second it.
Norm, second,
Go ahead.
Mike D.
Yep.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. And I'll read it off just so because we can't see each other. Okay, Norm,
Aye.
Mike Coombs,
Aye.
Malcolm,
Aye.
Mike DeBay,
Aye.
me, aye. Scotty's not here. Deb,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and Paul.
Aye.
Okay, we got it. Affirmed. Okay, next. Public comments. Do we have any from anybody? No public comments? Going once?
Nope.
Going twice? None. Okay. Concom update. Norm,
There is no update as they did not have a meeting because of the Labor Day weekend.
the holiday. Okay.
Great.
No meeting. Holiday. Gotcha. All right. I don't think Michelle is on, but maybe Deb, you may have.
Is,
Oh, Michelle's on.
Oh, Michelle, you're on? Okay. I didn't
No.
catch you earlier. Let me just add you to the list.
Okay.
All right. CRC update.
Okie dokie. I think we have more, maybe some questions than much of an update. We obviously are still planning on going forward with the golf tournament on September 25th. So that's been going great in terms of getting sponsorship and things like that. But if people know folks who golf, we still have plenty of room for golfers. So Dick, you sent, and I know you'll talk about it, the Lake buoy light that's been selected, which is wonderful. I also sent out a list of a handful of volunteers who would be willing to help with the buoy replacement. If there's anything we can do, I mean, I don't know anything about exactly how it has to happen. So, I don't know what just general people can do in terms of that, as opposed to what the police department has been doing. I know they've been super responsive. I think going out there every time I see an email, there's something that's happened and they're seemingly going out there very quickly and getting those replaced. But we have 4 or 5 folks who would be happy to help if there's something we can do. We just would need training, and we would need to know where the equipment is and things like that to do that. So maybe,
It also means these people would be taking out the town boat, and I've got to find out whether we can really allow that.
Okay.
Because you don't want to use personal boats to jockey around buoys and destroy a boat, or we might wind up owning a boat.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, it's the town one is made for it. It's made for work. It's not made for pleasure. So anyway, that's one of the things we will have to look into. Kind of approach that with Carl and the town council. Got to ask about that. What are the ramifications of having private citizens help with those?
Sure, okay.
'Cause I don't know.
Whatever you find out, just let us know. Like I said,
Yeah.
I do have folks that would love to help. You guys are so busy and you've been doing such an awesome job, but I know that's a lot to do. And I know that there are so many times that the things come off and, it's a real pain to get out there and have to do it. So we'd love to help out if we can, just let us know if we can help.
Yeah.
We had obviously questions about the lake levels. You'll let us know about that. I'd like to update folks at our meeting. Our next meeting is next Tuesday.
We're
So-
coming to that on our.
We'll talk
Right
about
on
that.
our-
Yep. And obviously the canal with the Beaver Dam and things, CRC would love to know what we can do to help advocate for keeping that as clear as possible. I know, I know it's more than just the Beaver Dam. I know it's all the sediment. I know it needs to be dredged, but if there's anything we can do in terms of advocacy to help that be done ahead of time when we anticipate storms. The hurricane season is the same months every year. So we know, and with climate change, it's been more significant. We've been getting more storms, more rain. So, if there's anything we can do.
It would not hurt to send something from CRC, independent of what we communicate to our senator and representative respectively, about CRC's observations and support from the citizenship, as opposed to just coming from only from the towns, the selectmen and lake management and conservation like that. So it would add to it, just if it's yet another input about observations from what you hear at your meetings.
Right. Yeah, it's a big deal to have been closed Labor Day weekend. I had a lot of people saying, they had folks coming in from out of town from quite a distance away to come and visit with relatives and spend the weekend on the lake and boating, and people taking time off from work who only get a couple weeks of vacation a year and took, a long weekend off to, to be on the lake. So it was very disappointing for many, many folks. And obviously the fishermen and the tournaments, it's
Yeah.
clear, the ramifications are clear. So
And the lake the high was 225.67 feet MSL, by the way, which is what wound up being close. It started out as just before it got to there, it was no wake. That was only for one day, part of a day actually. And then it blew right over the no boating. And that's because there was so much water coming in from Great Brook and from Canal Brook, both. We had two sources and no outlet, basically.
Right.
So, and that the biggest part of that long term is dredging. I mean, we can't stress that enough. And there's where additional input, if you feel like sending something from CRC directly to our US congressman and senator, in support, just copy us on it.
Dick, what was that level again? 225.67?
225.67.
Thanks.
And the reason we do it in decimal, by the way, because Scotty asked about that, is because all of the data on the lakes in all of the reports is done in decimal. Everything that was done by DEP, USDA, flood analysis, all the different alphabet soup from the government does it in decimal, not in inches. It's not feet plus inches, it's decimal. And it's not that hard to convert anyway. So we're still under no boating. It was coming down the night before. It came down almost an inch and a half, or it came down an inch and a half, 0.13 feet. And unfortunately today, for some reason, it's sitting at the same number as it was yesterday.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I've been taking these levels for years, and you'll see one day where it looks like a big gain and the next day it flattens out again on you. Part of it could be the rain coming down, could be a lot of things causing it. But generically we get about an inch a day wide open. But when the bottom downstream is full, which it is, I mean, it's very full all the way down into Granby now. There's no place to put the water. So it kind of slows down.
Yeah.
But you're right.
More last night.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was very spotty too, like it is today. It's, I'll go out and check the rain gauge here, but I doubt that it's more than maybe a tenth, 1.5 tenths. It's negligible. But from what you're saying, it poured in South Pond.
It didn't pour today here, but it rained all day.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a few breaks where it was just drizzling, but the rest of the time it's been raining.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I got 0.21 on South Pond today.
Okay. Which isn't bad, but the thing that we don't know, and what Mike DeBay was just saying, is, the whole watershed is so full, and some of these storms have stayed south of us, which is also part of the watershed in Connecticut.
Mhm.
And that runoff that comes from Cannon Brook and Mountain Brook and all the other ones that feed in, and there's just no place for it to go.
So
What
Dick,
level do we need to get to before we can reopen?
We've got to get down to 224.8.
Okay.
At 224 anything above that, we still are no wake, which is almost impossible to enforce. That's one of the things we wanted to talk
Well,
about.
Yeah.
Dick, aren't we at no wake right now? Aren't we at no wake right now?
We're at no boating
No
because
No, I know we're at no boating, but it's at this morning it was 225. I think 224.11 from what I've heard from everyone.
It was.
Right.
That's what I read it as.
And I know Scotty read it at that too. So, I mean, as of tonight or as of tomorrow morning, when we reread it, because I go down there every day too. I mean, I would think that we should go to no wake for the weekend.
But that, what I started to explain is no wake is virtually impossible to enforce. It
I
is-
get that, Dick. I do understand that, but I don't think we can be changing the rules. That's
it's not-
one
well,
thing.
that's what
So
we
I
have to
think-
decide.
I think the thought process at the moment is that the way it was going down, we thought, you know what, it's no big deal. By Friday noon, we'll probably be below 224.8. We can just open up and not have to get into a whole discussion.
I'd like to have that as a true answer, but I don't know if it's gonna hit. So I think we better start
if it-
addressing the issue.
If it doesn't hit that, then we do need to discuss it, because I think, you know, Dick and I were exchanging in discussion about it. And one of the issues for people is that at this time of year, a lot of people are looking to pull their boats out, for example.
Yep.
Yep,
And, you
exactly.
know, and they can do that when they're in a no wake condition, but not in a no boating condition.
Right.
So I think, you know, we have an existing protocol. The existing protocol says that once we're below the 225.0, we can be at no wake, but boating allowed. I think let's look at where it is tomorrow, because it's going to generate a lot of confusion if we come out with two different orders in rapid
Yeah.
succession. If it looks like we're either at below the 224.8, or it looks like, yeah, okay, look, we're going to get there by something like Friday noon, then let's just hold
That's
off
all-
and
Right.
do the
I
whole
agree.
thing.
I agree.
I
If it
agree with what
Doesn't
you're
look
talking
like we're
about.
getting
Hey, Eric,
there.
let somebody else have
Pardon?
a chance to talk, please. The concept is good. The problem is the way we're handling it. We knew 3 days ago, this conversation started on emails and texts going back and forth. I tried to explain it then. I wrote it again to Dick yesterday or today. We should have gone to the selectmen and the chief. He's the harbor master, the enforcer, and the decision maker in these. We have written protocols. We should have said, we feel it's going to cause more damage to do this than just wait till you get to 0.8. Should have told them and made a commitment to follow that up with a written change to the protocol. Because right now, what we're doing is not following our own protocol, nor following the one that's been approved by the selectmen. And we're leaving them wide open to get slammed by citizens that are pissed off. And I'll
I'm
shut up
not
at
quite
that
sure, Steve, but I don't agree, Mike, because I would agree with you if we were going to sit around and wait for a whole big long time, but we're not. We're talking about looking at it and saying, hey, look, I don't think anybody is going to be upset that today it could have been open for boating, but not wake, because it was a lousy rainy day anyway. So I don't think we're creating any problem.
You're justifying your decision already. That's what
Okay,
you're
but
doing.
you're not letting me finish talk, Mike. You're not letting me finish speaking. So I don't think we're creating any problem for anybody. I don't think we need to go and change the protocol. I think we just look and say, hey, look, if it looks like we're going to get there by noon, let's just do it in one fell swoop. If we're not going to get there by noon, we already have a written protocol, just follow it. We don't have to create a new protocol, go back to the select board and try and change anything, because we're talking about a few hours.
We need a new protocol for the next time this happens. That's what the new protocol would be for. And I disagree with you.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with the protocol we have.
Yes, there is.
Well, the protocol we have would have the lake would have been opened at 8 this morning for no wake, and anybody who wanted to pull their boats today could have pulled them. They may be
Sure.
going on vacation. They
Sure,
might
but
not be able to pull their boats for 2 weeks, so they
But
could have
it's
pulled them out
raining.
today.
It's been raining all day. I don't think people were going to go do that today.
But
But
I understand
know.
that, but we can't change the rules to make them satisfy our decisions. That's all I'm saying. You just
Sure.
said you can't change the rules. Well, the rules were we should have opened today for no wake. I think that we got to follow our own rules. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
We should follow our protocol.
Exactly. Which would have been open in the lake this morning
Correct.
for no wake. Now, if we
Which we
can't
could
enforce
certainly
that,
do.
that's an issue.
I'm not quite sure why people are that uptight about it. Did you hear like a lot of people going, geez, why are you waiting another 12 hours?
No, I'm hearing
I
people
think
are
we're
not
making a big
happy
deal out of something.
with the lake being closed for a week. I've heard a lot of people say they had people having people over for Labor Day weekend. There's nothing we can do about it. But I think that we've got to make sure that we just follow our own rules.
Okay.
This is Norm. I agree with Mike DeBay on this one. I would, however, recommend that the police can be out on the lake when we open it up for no wake, because if they're not on the lake, there will be wake.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I
And-
agree
and
with that,
erosion,
Norm.
And erosion, severe erosion.
Yep.
Right, right.
So what I think we're saying is that we have to get a commitment from the police that and hopefully they can get the sheriffs out there too at the same time like they have been, and maybe even the fire boat out, policing for no wake. That's about, because you have to have more than one boat out there, because all the speeding that goes on is in the whichever pond that the police aren't, or whichever area they aren't. But if you have 3 boats out, the chances of making sure that they comply, which is what they did on that Thursday that we were in no wake. They had 3 boats out, and people did comply.
Right, but we can't hold opening the lake until we're sure the police are gonna be there. We have to open it.
Well,
See,
the other
Deb,
option,
that's a good point. Deb's got a good point. We're not the enforcers, but we can't just keep holding it back because we think somebody's going to break the law.
the other option is the approval authority on this was the selectmen and the police. If they agree verbally and we followed up with written requests to change it, you could get away with doing it. People aren't going to be happy. There's no doubt about it. I had a crowd all weekend in the house because of the lake, but it is what it is.
Well, let's
I don't
talk
want to
about,
see damage.
right, let's talk about the erosion potential. I mean, the reason we have no wake, if we were at this level, is because of erosion, because we're still got water up on the shore.
Correct.
So the question is, do we proceed to have this conversation with the select board and the chief?
So
Which
look,
we can do.
we have a written protocol that says that we're supposed to be open for no wake operation.
Right, so we
Now,
could do
maybe
that.
we need to take a reading tomorrow morning because it's raining. Okay, so let's take the reading tomorrow morning. And I think what people are saying is, hey, we have a protocol, let's follow it. The
Agreed.
protocol says if we're between 224.8 and 225, we're open with no wake.
Exactly. That's what people are saying, Eric. You got it. They just want to follow the protocol. So we're not open to people saying, why is it there no wake? Why isn't it not no wake? And you have no answer for that. You have really have
Well,
no
there's
answer.
a numerical threshold that was obtained. We should abide by it.
Okay.
Right,
No,
so we'll take a reading tomorrow morning, see if we had any damage from the rain today.
I'll get the reading tomorrow morning and I'll check it just like I always do, Dick. and I'll
Oh,
send it to
okay.
you.
And one question, is it clear which reading? Because we get
Yes.
different levels if different locations.
There's
Is that-
different
No,
levels. Want me to explain that to
Mike,
them?
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
go ahead.
I put the second level indicator in. That's the one I got from Ken Phillips. I went and got the bolts and all the Hilties and all the rest of that stuff. And we put it in down at the south end at the weir gate. When I put it in, I stopped flow for a couple hours to make sure it levelized because there was about a 4.5 inch change in the level as soon as I stopped flow. Now I did this back on, I don't know what day it was. I can look it up for you if you need to know.
2
It was a
weeks
couple
ago
weeks ago.
Saturday, Mike. 2 weeks ago Saturday.
Anyways, it does that because the flow causes a lower level down there because it's washing out, which is what pulls the water out of the lake and keeps it going. It's a standard phenomena you see. When I opened the gates back up after stopping them, the level dropped initially 6 inches down there. Water started flowing south again, and then it equalized out at about 4.5 inches. So the bottom one, if you measure the one at the south, at the weir gate, it's always going to read lower than the one at the south ramp.
Right.
And it does that because of the water flow. The higher the flow, the more the difference.
I understood all that. My question was, we say 224.8 and 225.0, measured where?
At the Berkshire Avenue weir, because
Okay.
that's static water.
Got
That's
it.
Bingo.
That
exactly
was
right.
my question.
And
And
I
it's
measured it
also-
there every day. The only person that sent out anything different than that is Scotty when he sends it out randomly throughout the day. And he
Yeah.
sent it out specifically stating it was at the weir gates. The other thing is you got to remember, you got to pay attention to the inches. Everything is measured in inches and foot, unlike the
Right.
engineers that sit at a desk. Everything is measured with rulers in inches and feet. So you got to convert that over if you're talking point something.
Right.
Yeah.
And
You gotta
the
divide
other
by
thing
12.
is, the other reason it's where it is because all of the reports on Congamon are based on the benchmark. It's a USGS benchmark that's on the top of the concrete wing wall. There's a cross on the top of it, and that's MassDOT benchmark. So everything is measured and checked out from that benchmark down to the concrete slab that's and the floor of that box culvert. All those match up, and they also match up with our stick down there, our calibrated stick. So that's why it's done there, and the water's static there.
Yes.
When it's not flowing backwards from Great Brook.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
when you measure, could you let everyone know what the measurement is?
Yeah, I've been sending out a separate one to you and to Norm, because you've been asking. When I can, I'll send that. I'll send it out on two. I'll send Dick, I'll send you one
send
right
it-
away. That's just to you, so it doesn't get lost, because I noticed yesterday or the day before, 2 hours after I sent it, you were asking if anybody had to level again. And it was like 5 pages of texts in between.
Yeah, if
At
you
least on
send
my
it,
phone, it was 5 pages.
if you send
I'll
it to
send it
me,
out, Deb. I'll make a
Thank
note to
you.
do that.
yeah,
Thanks.
Okay, this is Norm. Yesterday was the first day I did not see the police boat out there.
right,
And it was the first day I saw a pontoon boat out there that didn't belong there. So we have to make the recommendation at the same time that the police have the police on the lake when it's open for no wake. It's only a recommendation.
Was the pontoon boat going fast or was he just going
Yes,
slow?
it was going wake. It
yeah.
was
Oh,
creating
wow.
wake.
And I got that same report from the
Wow.
people that are working on the fishing pier, because it cruised all the way, went into North Pond, and then came back and went sailing down.
Wow.
So they need to be on the lake.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Hmm.
That's why I said, it's got to be enforced. If it's not enforced, we're going to lose shoreline.
Yep.
Well, the weekend's supposed to be
Consider-
like 80 degrees and sunny, so it's gonna have to be enforced on the weekend. So we're gonna
Right,
have to
we're
figure out
still
what to
there.
do.
Yeah,
Right. If we're at no wake, it'll have to be enforced.
yeah. So as soon as I get the number from you, Mike, I will get in touch with the chief, and they did an excellent job of posting, by the way. And he's still got the no wake bright posters that they attached all over the place. And it
People
says
know,
per
people know now
SPD.
that
Yeah,
it's out there.
Okay.
Everybody knows. Most people know.
right.
Yeah, Michelle did a lot on all the different media sources. You're from Southwick, CRC site, so thank you, Michelle, for doing that.
Yes. Okay. We all set on there?
I'm okay.
Yep.
Okay. So the next one is 159 Berkshire Ave. And it's back again. Norm noticed that there was more work ongoing, actually above, in other words, north of where the work was done previously. And this is actually a good chunk of it is on the address is 179R Berkshire Avenue, which belongs to Robert E. Arnold Tobacco Corporation, but it's being done by the owner of 159. And cleared the whole thing out. you've got in your package, Annie, if you can go to the next. I think it's in the, let's keep going. I didn't get, today it was nuts. I didn't get a chance to number these pages. Yeah, okay. So he came back when the when it was brought up, the owner said, well, I just was taking out a dead tree. And that was the response that I sent to the engineer who is doing the design work to correct everything that's been done. There's no silt fence out, no straw bales, hay bales, no wattle, nothing. And it's just running into the street. It runs down the side of the road into the, ultimately through the culvert that goes under Berkshire Avenue. It found its way into the detention pond and out into the lake as muddy water. So, and as you see there, Google Earth doesn't lie. Google Earth shows that that was basically a whole treed area, not one tree that was removed. And it's barren now. Right, Norm?
Baron,
Yeah.
Yep.
And we walked around, we got pictures up in the back. There was still a lot of water retained behind the earthen dam that's unpermitted. And if that earthen dam fails, that water will go into Congamon just like it did back in 2018.
I just think the issue with this is it's 2 or 3 years old. The town does nothing about it.
No, they did. He's got a huge
And
fine.
they gave him a cease and desist. He's still out
No,
there.
they gave him a huge fine.
Okay, and
Huge.
has he stopped? No.
No,
Has he paid it? Probably
No.
not. So what's the deal? You know, nothing's done. I mean, you know, it gets old, you know. There's not a lot we can do. We keep talking about it, but the guy's still moving earth, so
yeah,
we keep it on our agenda, but there's nothing that can be done. Not by us.
I agree. I mean, we've been
Yeah,
talking
well,
about this for 2 or 3 years. I
Yeah,
mean,
and we're gonna do
why
the
do we bring,
same thing with
keep bringing it
Louise
up?
and the docks. The cease and desist and gotta be all out. They're still all there.
Whoever enforces it, let them do it. And it's not our job anymore. We've brought it up a million times.
yeah.
Why are we talking about it? Good point, Mike.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's your
I
update on it.
agree. I agree with your frustration, Dick. I totally understand. It's gonna come into the lake, but until someone in the town does something, it's ridiculous. This guy has been clearing that land for 3 years.
Do you want me to forward that to the
Nonsense.
select board?
Yeah, I don't care.
That'd be good.
Tell them what we think. Say what, this is ridiculous. Nobody's doing anything. I don't even know why we talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Go on.
All right. Now, buoy lights. So you have a picture, if you go down to the end of this one, Annie, you'll go through all the pictures of, and I sent you the photographs showing the water that is retained behind that dam. And there's the land. They're nice in color. They're horrible in black and white.
Mm.
Keep going. So you can see what's cleared, and it's absolutely barren now. It's even worse than what's there. These are different years on Google Earth. And we keep going. So this is a shot of the detention pond, which is loaded with mud and debris that's flowed into it, and it's going to have to be cleaned out because it's up in the yellow band. There's a colored rod in there that tells when it has to be cleaned out. And then that picture there is showing the water. What you're looking at is water that goes all the way back, not far from the rail trail, right, Norm?
That's right.
So that's backed up all the way back, like I say, to very close to the rail trail.
It was about 8 feet from the top of the dam.
Yeah. A lot of water. And we'll keep going. All right, there's the picture. I now have all the parts. Well, I have the light, the guard, and a design, which is the next sheet. But what you're looking at there is a commercially available, very heavy duty guard from Rab Electric that I found. Fits like
Wow.
a glove over the buoy light.
Looks good.
And the buoy lights are now much lower profile. The old ones were about 3.5 inches high and were phenomenal targets, and they were not vandal resistant because the bodies were plastic. So now if you go to the next, that picture there has to be adapted to be affixed to the buoy. And I drew up that upside down. But anyway, I drew up that. And we're meeting with the sheriff's department tomorrow. The police and myself, Mike Westcott, myself, and one of the sheriffs are going to meet because they offered to make these free in the jail. So the stainless steel, I'm thinking stock that's probably 100 thousandths thick and welded. And the reason for the holes that you see in there, one is an access hole because the top of the buoy has a bolt and a nut, and that's what this will be held down to. And then the other holes in there are to hold the light and the guard. So it's a lot different. What Rolian offers is plastic. Plastic's not going to cut it. That's what we had before, and it just got smashed. So that's the plan going forward with how to make a much sturdier mount for the buoy lights. So we can go to the second package. I think that's the end of that one. If you continue on, pretty sure that was it. And the second package is coming up.
Dick, who are you meeting with tomorrow on the lights?
It'd be Mike Westcott, myself, and one of the sheriffs. The one that's, from what I understand, it's the one that's responsible for the machine shop in the prison.
Okay.
Not one of the prisoners, one of the sheriffs.
I would hope so.
Not that one, it's the last one. We got one more package. That was just some FYI stuff that I sent you. There was an article on dispatch, very interesting, and another article on the flooding on the lakes, which you can read at your leisure.
Hey, Dick, will that dispatcher be, there won't be a dispatcher at the police department anymore when you call?
I don't know how
Knows
that's actually
everybody.
going to work.
Yeah.
We got enough with Congamon flooding. Have you got that one handy, Annie, or? Because I sent it out
You need to get it
as a
open.
supplement.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. So what happened was, all the way down at the bottom, there was an input from some fishermen to Department of Fish and Game, Fisheries and Wildlife. And they were complaining about the requirement to release the fish in the lake past the two no-wake buoys that are by the fishing pier.
Yeah.
So, and it was written as a requirement, not a recommendation. And that we can't do that. That's what I found out, is this chapter 135, section 45 does not permit that. But we can recommend it. So I changed the verbiage in there to read the very last page on there, Annie.
You changed the word to recommend.
Just to recommend, right?
Okay.
But can
So-
we, if I understood, we could ask the director could turn that into a requirement.
Yes, but in the interest of managing it now, the best thing to do is to just make it recommended until we do that process, which is very lengthy, by the way. It's not, you don't just write an email and say, hey, can we? It's like getting a bylaw approved, by the way. It's that
Yeah,
kind of-
I
Yes.
understand. I'm just thinking that if we, considering the pushback that we've got, if it doesn't get turned into a requirement, they'll just go, nice recommendation, I'll release the fish right here.
Most of we've seen no problem with the bulk of the tournaments adhering to that. This was somebody decided they wanted to challenge it.
Dick, I thought this whole recommendation came from fishermen.
It did, and I explained that in my email that I sent.
Okay, so somebody else has got a different opinion. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So, and they're correct in the sense that the process says the
Mhm.
director has to be input from the town, not from lake management, but from the town. And then they will act on it. It's a formal input. They will act on it and decide whether or not it's going to be approved. But meanwhile, we're better off, this is the old better off with half a loaf than no loaf.
Bless you.
Thank you, Paul.
I have a question for all the fishermen out here. Do we really think it makes a difference to the fish whether you let them go at the pier or out 100 feet off the pier at that buoy? I mean, it just seems like what's the point?
Well, they were, in many cases, they were letting them go right at the shoreline. And this was, if you recall, this was the input from two people and complaining that the fish were dying all over the place, which was not the case.
Right. Okay. Just wondering. I mean, it doesn't seem to me like it's a big deal one way or the other.
No,
I mean, we got the input from fishermen to start with, so.
yes. And they were
I-
responding to keep the peace with everybody.
I know it's not my place to speak up at this point, but I specifically spoke to someone from the state about it. And they said it's perfectly fine to put them back, right where, they are at the shore. They'll swim to where they want to go back to their beds and, back to their areas. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
They
There
said
you
there's not a problem with the population. Everything's great. That's why we have so many fishing tournaments, because fishing is so great and our population is so healthy. And so they just kind of really dismissed, all those concerns and said, it's fine.
And that's the
Okay.
same thing I got from Jason when I spoke with him. He's
Jason,
the
yep.
aquatic biologist. And so it was put in place because it was recommended by the fishermen to try and calm a couple of people.
Can't please all the people all the time.
Right. So, I mean, we can leave it in there as a recommendation for now, and then we can scrub it at a later date. But I would recommend we just leave it in there as the recommendation, because the fishermen are the ones that created it. And if we leave it as a recommendation, Fish and Wildlife has no problem with it whatsoever.
Do you need a motion, Dick?
Just a motion to make it a recommendation.
I make a motion that we change it to make it a recommendation to put the fish out
And do we have
back
a
by the buoy.
second
and-
from anybody?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, I'll run quickly down. Just so we do it the right way. All right, Norm,
Aye.
Mike Coombs,
Aye.
Malcolm,
Aye.
Mike DeBay,
Aye.
me, I. Scotty's not here. Deb,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
All right, unanimous is verified.
Who seconded?
That
Deb,
was Deb.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think that's it. Unless somebody has something else.
Norm's got
No.
4 items under other.
Okay,
Okay.
First item is in preparation of joining the master plan committee, if I'm accepted. I wanted to know what the appraised value was of the waterfront properties in Southwick, and how did it relate to the total appraisals of Southwick. And I have not quite done with it, but it's going to come out around 8.5% of the tax value comes from the waterfront properties. And it's going to be somewhere around $79 million worth of properties on the lake in Massachusetts.
did assessors put that together for you, or?
Well, I went to the assessor's office to get the town number total, but you go to GIS and you can look up every property, 235 of them, and I did
Yeah.
that. So I looked all 235 up. So,
Okay. And,
So
and that does not include Connecticut, correct?
that's not Connecticut.
Okay,
I mean, Connecticut you can do because they have the same type of website.
yes,
But I wanted to get how much of it was of the Southwick budget,
good.
okay? The second item I have is,
Norm, can you repeat those numbers again? I just want to write that down this time.
it's, the value of the properties is around, again, I'm not quite done with this, is around 79 million. And that's about 8.5% of the value of Southwick residential homes.
Okay.
And then if you compared that to the number of Southwick residential homes, it's like you said, like 250 units out of,
I have it here, let me check.
You have the total tax base.
Yeah,
right?
it looks like it's 3,123.
okay, so it's
Okay. It's
23 and like 250. So basically, all right, but that's about 8% of the number of homes too.
yeah.
So it's not, it doesn't represent a differential value.
No, but my stance is going to be, if we don't protect the lake, the value of those properties are going to go down,
Yeah.
We are
and it's going to
taxed
have
at
an
a higher
impact
level.
on the town.
No,
And
I
we're
agree.
taxed at a
I'm
higher
just
level.
surprised. I would have thought that it would have been a higher percentage than the percentage
Well,
of.
As I said, I'm not done yet. I got to go
Okay.
back to the assessor's office and ask a few more questions to make sure my thought process was correct.
If you
Okay.
talk to Sue Gore,
Yeah,
who's the assessor,
yeah, I did talk to Sue.
and ask her to run a report, she can ask one of the people there to run a report for you that'll drag out all that information.
Okay. All right.
Okay, number two.
Number two is, actually, I thought of this one before we closed the lake, but I've had this one on my mind for a while. And developing or determining the feasibility, and if it's feasible, develop a code red call out system for all Massachusetts and Connecticut waterfront properties. I don't know if it's feasible, but we'd have to talk to whoever handles the code red calling system today, if we can come up with a section that's just waterfront property. This would allow us to communicate properly with lake treatments, lake closures, any lake important information that could be sent out on this calling system.
And I know that that can be done on our code, our town of Southwick code red. I don't know what the name of the one is in Suffield, but we'd have to find out what
Well,
they
we could,
can do.
it's only a data entry problem. We could put all the Suffield numbers into the code red for waterfront property.
They would have to, the way code red works, and we do have quite a few Suffield people who are in it now. It's voluntary. And so if
Right.
somebody opts not to put their number into code red, they're not going to know.
That's true. And that brings up the next project. These are winter projects that I was thinking of working on over the winter. And that
Norm,
is,
before you go on, can I ask you a question?
sure,
How is this different than the present code red they have that they
the code
call
red
us
they
all
have
on?
goes to all Southwick
No,
properties.
no, not
Well,
true.
those that have signed up.
No, not true. The way they do it is it's as simple as drawing. You can, on it, you can just shade, basically effectively circle an area and say, I want everything within 500 feet of the water.
Yeah.
If they opt to do it, if they don't, they can just press all and then it goes out to everybody. But the capability is there and they do use it for a
Okay,
lot of things. When, like there's an accident or something, or
Yeah.
we have a water, when we have a water break, it's real simple. They just circle the area that's affected by that water break and only those houses get called.
okay.
So it exists, it wasn't in our old system, but Code Red has it.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I
I'll
don't
just-
know though what Suffield has.
Okay.
That would be a good thing if you can find out,
Okay,
do they have that capability?
all right. And then the last project that I have in mind is an LMC email where we ask the waterfront property people if they want to be a part of our email system, that we can communicate with them with the same types of things, lake treatment, lake closures, lake issues. We can also use it for feedback from them, which I would be willing to sign up for on lake complaints. And then we could take that lake complaints, categorize it, and Pareto it, and send it to the officials in the town.
And let me explain too, Code Red, because I have it already. I get an email, I get a text, and I get calls so I get it on my cell, on our landline, on the lake phone, and I get an email.
Okay.
So that exists in Code Red.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay. And then that's it for projects, but I had one other question. Have we been reappointed for another year?
I'll have to find out.
Because we supposedly expired in August.
We expired.
Exactly.
One other point of order, Norm, I know you volunteered to be on the long range plan. Mike Doherty asked if we could do an official vote on that because he's asking other committees and other people that are going to be on it to be voted upon. So can we do that, Dick, tonight?
Sure.
Okay.
We need somebody to nominate Norm.
I nominate Norm. To be on
I'll
the-
second.
Okay.
And that was Mike DeBay.
No,
Eric.
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 Eric,
That was it.
sorry. All right, so second was, yeah. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Norm, you're not allowed to oppose.
Norm can't oppose.
I had recommended somebody else, but they weren't interested.
Anyone abstain? Okay, I'm gonna quick run down. We got Norm,
Aye.
Mike Coombs,
Aye.
Malcolm,
Aye.
Mike DeBay,
Aye.
me, aye. Deb,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
All right, so it's verified. Okay, that's affirmed. Okay, anything else, anybody?
Michelle, didn't you want to talk a little bit about North Pond porta potties?
Yeah, I did not hear back from Dennis Clark, but we're definitely very interested in going back and advocating with the state to open up that aspect of the conservation restriction to allow for a porta potty on the North Pond property. So I don't remember last time if we sort of took a poll from LMC to hear if that's something that this committee is in favor of joining us on that advocacy project.
I would think we would be.
Michelle, given we put that in our recommendation when they were asking for money to buy it, we supported it under the
Yes.
concept of porta potties and trash.
Right, both.
We
already did
100%
that.
support you on that, and thank you for pushing the issue.
Okay,
And-
great,
and
yeah.
she's- yeah, Michelle is correct in that it was a conservation restriction that would not allow us to do either. And that has to be reconciled because it was, I believe it's in the document that's recorded in Hamden County deeds.
Right, I don't know what kind of act of God it's gonna take to, to undo that or make any changes. I know it was tough because I was there when we spoke with Christina from the state about it, and they were.
And that
pretty
person
hard on-
retired. The
I
one
heard
was-
that, that's,
Good news.
I have to step away for a moment.
Okay.
yeah,
So-
that's also kind of what we're thinking. Like, it's a great time to really strike now. And, we have a lot of complaints from citizens about the treatment of the property when there are a lot of folks over there. And
Yeah.
so, we have it, we own it, we're committed to it, and we need to care for it appropriately. So like, I think we need to reflect back on, what's going on, and the PD can only do so much in terms of patrolling. They've been down there, they've been active, and you can't watch everybody all the time.
Right.
But yeah, so it seems to make an awful lot of sense. Most people would really rather use a facility than go in the woods, so.
Yeah, and I did have Tammy Spencer stop down and we had a fairly lengthy discussion about it. And I did mention that from our experience with our 3 porta potties that are at the boat ramps, they absolutely have to be anchored down because otherwise they'll be tipped over and that's even worse. They have to be accessible 2 ways. Accessible meaning handicap accessible. So you have to have a handicap unit with the right, you can't have surfaces that are soft around it. It has to be on a pad where you can turn a wheelchair around if you had to. And that you can get from I put that in a note to them, was our building inspector can better define what is required to make it handicap accessible, which is different from being accessible for the service truck, the service vehicle. So that vehicle has to be able to get to and be able to either turn around or back down or something. You got to get there and service it with the pumper.
Well, that was the caveat with the state, was the service vehicle.
They did not want any service vehicle going down there. And so that, I think, is another thing. You're correct, Paul, is you have to tread on that issue that was, I believe, put into the words for the conservation restriction. So it's just, those are the things that those are the poles in the tent that have to be addressed.
Wow.
Does anyone know anything about composting toilets? Would a service vehicle be less impactful if it just needed to come down and remove the compost aspect if it were composting rather than, a big septic truck coming down to pump out?
It's not that big. It basically is a relatively small truck with a little pumper on it and a tank. And they're the same ones that do it's Ricky's Porta Potty does all ours, and the ones, a bunch of them for the town, other places for Park and Rec, and he services all those. So that's, all we have to do is make sure there's a way to get there wherever we put it. Pick a place where you can get to. Then we have to just address the the prohibition of having any vehicles be allowed to go down there.
Well, the police department's been going down there in their vehicles, and the
Right.
Old Kings Beach property has some leftover pavement and things down there. I can't think of, how large the pad area would be or need to be, but
You need about maybe 20 square feet or something like that, not a lot.
Won't you need a ramp down to the water so they can get their wheelchair in? Or do they
That's what has to be determined with the
might have a problem?
with the building inspector. I do not know, because, and the reason I say that is that we've had this discussion before. The subject came up about the trails, the dirt trails, and they do not have to be so that you can take a wheelchair up and down a dirt trail. There are certain places where they consider that you're not going to alter the terrain, because we had somebody suggest that. And I said, well, you didn't have to cut the mountain down, because they were talking about the one that's the mountain in the western part of town, that there's a trail on that. And in order to get to it, you got to climb. I mean, you really got to climb. And there's the other one that's off of, that's where Barry Street and trying to think of the other name, becomes Barry Street and Agawam.
Foster Road.
No, goes
South
off at South
Long
Long Yard
Foster.
and heads into Agawam. But anyway, there's a trail that goes from there to,
Rising Corners.
that's it. And it goes to South Long Yard. And it's interrupted by cliffs. So there's a piece of it where it is accessible and all the rest of it is not. Because you got to hike up a cliff. So anyway, I would just run it up the flagpole with the building inspector.
Would Rick's porta potties or whoever you use, would they know about composting and how often that would have to be emptied?
That, I don't think you're talking spending probably, we looked at them for the ramps. And at that time, many, many years ago, they were something like 80K. That's a lot of money.
They've probably gone down.
Yeah. They're probably looking at 100 now. And they're not without servicing requirements.
Yeah, no, I was saying, does this guy know about composting toilets?
The way you could probably find out is you'd have to contact somebody in DCR and see what they know about them, because there's probably facilities where DCR has composting toilets. I did bounce it off of our fishing and boating access director, and they do not have any in any of theirs, and have no experience with them whatsoever.
Okay.
They have a lot of porta potties, but they don't have any composting toilets. And they have ones with that are on sewer. So I would say, contact DCR.
What's
And-
DCR?
Conservation Resources, Department of Conservation Resources, I think it is, something like that.
Okay.
It's what used to be DEM, Department of Environmental Management. And they renamed it DCR and added some other groups into their fold.
Okay,
And I don't have any contacts in that. Or I'd dig it out for you.
Okay.
Everybody that I used to deal with has long since retired.
Well, what does that say, Dick?
Yes. I'm the only nut that hasn't. So be careful what you wish for.
I'm not wishing.
Anything else?
Nope.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Yes.
Who was that?
I'll make a motion.
Norm did.
Norm? Okay. And
I'll
second,
second.
Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, unanimous. We adjourned at whatever time it is.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Night.
Night all.
Everybody.
Well,
Right.
Night.